One of the most hyped smartphones ever has been in my hands and pockets for a while, and it's time to tell you everything positive and negative related to the mighty Google Pixel 7. Is it really that good? Let's inspect. Right, so this is my first Google-made daily driver, the Pixel 7, a smartphone which shape and size I really adore. It's so many good features that I had to thoroughly analyze in order to pass everything in the package within 10 minutes, so that we can inspect it and find out whether it is really as good as the people say it is. If you're looking for hard evidence, you may check DxOMark's smartphone camera ranking, giving the Pixel 7 series the second spot, which, given the fact that Huawei Mate 50 is a factor in China only due to the lack of Google services support, means that Pixel 7 cameras might be almost revolutionary. Confirmed also by MKBHD's massive camera comparison blind test, where both 6A and the 7 series have occupied the first two spots. It's really weird to see that Google, with inferior hardware, are actually bending the rules and fitting premium performance at a price which these days is considered to be mid-range segment. Note that the smartphone is not available in each and every country, adoption is slow, but if you're lucky to live in one of the supported regions, I think buying the 7 or 7 Pro is a no-brainer. Since there's a quite special synergy between the hardware and the software in this case, I'll chunk the video down to covering the most important components as opposed to dividing it into hardware and software sections. And no, the first impressions you're going to get are definitely not that superb, because although the box that you get it in looks sleek and so stylish and taking the Pixel 7 out is totally satisfactory, there's nothing valuable inside. A few years ago they took away from us the earphones, now the chargers. Not that including one here would have made a big difference, because charging speeds are unusually slow, at least in terms of 2023 standards. Truth is that most flagship smartphones from the past 2-3 years are actually doing better in terms of quick charging than the Pixel 7 and the 7 Pro, mostly because they have Samsung electronics inside, and we know that Samsung smartphones from the past couple of years are not really great about quick charging technologies. And yeah, I do miss a lot the possibility to use 120-watt charging with the Mi 12 and 12T Pro series, but in order to avoid any frustration and the disappointment I got with the Nothing Phone 1 back from the summer, a few weeks ago, knowing that I'm gonna switch to Pixel 7, I started to use a much slower charger so that I don't get too irritated when getting the Pixel 7. In here, I can top up the battery from 0 to 100% within less than 30 minutes. With the Pixel 7 Pro, this would take more than an hour, but Google advertised that 50% of the battery can be recharged within around 30 minutes. The other challenge is finding the right charger, because with the Pixel 7 series we don't have the official Qualcomm certified quick charging technology, because again we don't use a Snapdragon inside, but the Minix GAN charger, which has 4 ports and I use it in the last few years, is actually doing a pretty good job. I managed to get speeds of around 4 amps, which is the promised maximum, and wireless charging takes about the same time as the wired one. The other not-so-remarkable thing about the battery is its actual performance. It's just average, lasts more than Mi 12 Pro, but definitely less than 12T Pro. It's gonna last through a day, but 2 days are not easy to get. Most of the consumption is when the camera is being used. On the other hand, the phone has remarkable standby times, and if set in airplane mode, it consumes between 1 and 2% per night, whereas every single other phone that I've tried for the last couple of years was consuming between 5 and 10%. I admit the battery topic is not really among the key strengths, but the camera. If there's something to truly praise the Pixel 7 series for, that really would be the camera performance. Weirdly, Google are still using the same image sensor as the Pixel 6 series, but they build on top of the software, and probably they've switched to another kind of optics. There's an ultra-wide camera as well, which also happens to be the same as what Pixel 6 is equipped with, and it's not that ultra-wide, just 114 degrees, which is something like a 14mm lens in 35mm equivalent. While the bigger brother, Pixel 7 Pro, has exactly the same main camera, the ultra-wide setup there is different and the telephoto module is also a great one. Obviously, the focus is on the main camera, which is a delight to use. Google are producing a masterful example how a smaller image sensor with amazing software optimization can produce a lot better imaging as compared to larger image sensors with mediocre tuning. The sensor inside Pixel 7 is even smaller than 2021's Mi 11 Ultra, but photo quality is magnificent and better in terms of details, in terms of clarity, dynamic range, and pretty much every single aspect you may think of. What is totally remarkable is how Google imaging processing know-how helps a Samsung-made image sensor, likely the GN1, to take better photos and videos than the Sony IMX-powered iPhones. And funny enough, Samsung image sensor plus a modified Samsung chipset tuned by Google actually beats each and every Samsung flagship to date. This is yet another proof that hardware specs are not that important if the software and the optimizations are not in place. Don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean that iPhones or Samsung smartphones are a bad choice, quite the opposite, and difference in terms of image quality is not that significant, but proves once again that the latest is not necessarily the greatest, especially if companies don't have the patience to get the most out of it. This is why I'll just let you enjoy these awesome photos and you can download the originals from the video description area. I almost never had to retake a shot just because the camera is so good. And one more thing that others may not pay attention to, the optical image stabilization performance. Just notice how steady the image remains even when applying the 8x zoom. This is crazy good and the video stabilization performance is among the best in its class. In daytime, it is little better even than iPhones. In low light, also superb. You've probably heard about the cinematic mode, records at 1080p, 24 frames per second with this so nice looking shallow depth of field, but weirdly this frame rate 24 is missing in the regular video modes, and I really want to see this implemented. The other two cameras on the phone are rather average. The so-called ultra-wide module is not that good, but if there's enough light, it's gonna reward you with sharp and well-saturated images. Combined with the software processing, photos look, of course, great. On the front side, a 10.8 megapixel camera which can record up to 4K, 60 frames per second. I'm jumping to the Pixel 7 from a Mi phone and it feels like a huge step up in terms of front camera performance. If you're assessing just the specs of Pixel 7, there won't be too many components to surprise or impress. An octa-core processor, which is part of the Tensor Generation 2 system on a chip, RAM is 8GB, storage options are 128 or 256, 6.3-inch display with 90Hz refresh rate, all the current connectivity standards, a 4355 mAh battery with fast charging support, and weight of the phone is 197 grams. Beyond the numbers, the display, although capable of only 90 Hz, is almost perfect. While most people will recommend other phones for gaming, I'll just remind you that many games are still limited at 60 Hz, so refresh rate is alright, and also the placement of the volume and power buttons guarantees that there won't be accidental presses, although I have to admit that this button layout is kind of weird at the start. Visibility of the display outdoors is very good thanks to the 1400 nit brightness. As for colors, well, that's a good OLED panel, so everything you may need from a good display is present. Performance-wise, the phone is more than what I need. Truth is that according to benchmarks, it is slower than Snapdragon 8 Generation 1 and Generation 2, but benchmarks can never cover all of your daily habits and needs. The smoothness of the operating system is on par with the super high pixel standards, and since I'm someone who never shuts his phone off, even after 2 or 3 weeks, it remains as snappy as on day number 1. No hiccups, issues, crashes or whatsoever. Even third-party camera apps work flawlessly and have access to both optical and digital stabilization. Concerning the rest of the hardware, the NFC module is a lot more powerful than what other phones can do. Wi-Fi works without a problem, but there is no dedicated tile about it. Network coverage is good, signal is stable. I think it's even better than the Qualcomm modems, saying this in case you come from a Pixel 6 series, which have had some signal reception issues. eSIM and a physical SIM card are supported. The speakers are not great, so is the fingerprint scanner. It's not optical, and if I wash my hands, it almost never recognizes the thumb. As a hack, you may add your thumb twice. It's gonna work at least a little better. Other than that, you're gonna enjoy a number of cool operating system tweaks, like the configurable double tap on the back action. You can also choose between gesture controls and navigation bar. There's the super awesome recorded transcribing feature, the photos deblur option, the revamped battery usage section, the style tuning, the improved security features. On the other hand, if you look for things to criticize, Google are still reluctant to let you rearrange the navigation bar buttons. The dialer is still pretty basic, and the call recording feature is not available for most regions. So, in the end, who is this smartphone for? If you prioritize security, frequent updates, super smooth software experience, future-proof configuration, amazing camera performance, this is the right choice. If you're looking for something to stay on the bleeding edge of tech innovations or need speedy charging or remarkable battery life or something specially designed for high-end gaming, well, probably the Pixel 7 ain't it. But I have to admit that I did have some concerns before buying the phone, but now, a few weeks later, I confirm that everything good that you've seen about the Pixel 7 series online is true. And at a price which is undercutting most current flagships, I think it's one of the best choices for a 2022 and 2023 smartphone. It's a no-brainer, even with those region-based limitations that we have been addressing during this episode. So that's about the review of the Pixel 7. I think it's a blazing fast smartphone with excellent qualities and overall, as I mentioned, probably the best pack out of the Android world. If you have another opinion or if you share the same one, maybe we can carry on the conversation in the comment section below the video. As usual, more information about the product, link to buy it, and some ways to support the channel are listed in the video description area. Thank you very much for watching this episode. You can check some of the raw samples of the photos as well. And I kindly invite you to subscribe to the channel for more cool tech inspections. My name is Michael. Can't wait to see you in the next episode. Bye!